My stomach cramped oddly at the Boys and Girls Club that afternoon. I already hated being there, but what I was about to find when I used the restroom would make me loathe it even more. Flo had met me that summer before my 11th birthday. I was 10 years old when my cycle began, which flung me head first into the depths of puberty before anyone my age had started to develop. By age 12, I had skipped training bras and sock stuffing. There was no need. I was busty and made sweet eye candy for my mother's boyfriend when I was only 13 in 7th grade. Mom met Ollie at a gas station one afternoon and mentioned him shortly after. It was her way of readying us that she would be dating and we would soon meet him. In hindsight, one thing that stood out as odd was his remark that I should model when she showed him our pictures. Hearing that I should be in modeling excited me because I struggled with my physical appearance and long, steep self-hatred. Today, that question and response is the biggest red flag no one saw. Ollie seemed like a kind Caribbean man with a shiny bald head and a distinct accent. His smile was inviting and he had children. He was a dad. That meant Ollie was relatively good, right? A dad doesn't hurt children. So I filed him away as good. One day, he had even drawn with me in my sketchbook. I vaguely remembered the plant that effortlessly appeared on the page, which made me like Ollie. Drawing was one of my favorite hobbies, so I refiled him away as great. Mom was happy, and he was nice to my brother and me. I thought he could make a good stepdad. I didn't want Mom to be alone and believed she deserved love and to marry again if she wanted. But some dads are monsters and hide their fangs behind smiling lips. I remember his discreet words while we went to my brother's football game. You look sexy in red. I never thought I could hate a tight red sparkling tank top more than I did then. Confused and uncomfortable, I didn't know what to make of his statement. I understood he should not have said it to me, and he purposely ensured my mother was not within earshot. That afternoon, I refused to drive alone with him in his SUV. I climbed into my mother's passenger seat, buckled my belt, and stared, confused, out of the window as we left the gas station and football field in the rearview mirror. Focused on the passing brush and trees speeding by in the blur, I thought about what he said as waves of discomfort hit me, knocking me off my feet again and again. I hoped this was a one-off statement he would never make again. The red tank top incident became what I later learned was grooming for what he really intended to do. It went from consistently bringing my brother and me chocolate bars and juices when he would visit my mother to hugging me way too long and much too close to my breasts. I hoped my mom would see and protect me from him. I hoped she would come to my aid and break things off with him. I hoped she would do anything but allow him to steal from me one gesture, one secret word, one touch at a time. I would wrestle with myself about how to tell her he was making me uncomfortable, but would quickly fear. I hated the words had to leave my mouth at all. Children should never have to utter these kinds of words. I also felt like I was making much of nothing and expecting it to stop before getting any further. Could anyone see the signs? Signs. He would love taking pictures of me in my cheerleading uniform with his Polaroid camera. Some photos would just be of me, others would be of all of us together. When he could get me alone, he would suggest I take pictures in bikinis and other garments that would show the most skin, telling me to use baby oil when I did. His advances were slowly backing me into a corner I couldn't figure out how to get out of without the help of an adult. These acts transitioned to him giving me money, buying me clothes, and taking me on mini shopping sprees to the mall. I still saw him as a father figure and justified it as normal. I was now a teenager, and my top priorities were clothes, shoes, and the latest gadgets. I was wholly green to the fact that this was all an elaborate grooming technique that would unravel my entire existence, throwing what bits of my identity I did have into a tailspin. That day, he picked me up from school with my mother's consent. We went shopping at the local mall, and he waited outside the store for me to make my purchases. On the way home, we stopped by my favorite taco shop. It was early evening. between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m., but nightfall came early that day. While I was still eating my tacos, he closed the blinds and he ravaged my life. I won't put the details here because those aren't as important as when my voice said, "Stop!" I wasn't loud, but I wasn't quiet either. I wonder if my voice had more volume and bass than it felt like at the time. It scared him, though I felt as small and invisible as an amoeba. When he stopped, he quickly threatened suicide if I told, and I said, "I don't care." Jettisoned like stones as I frighteningly got up from the chair. I rushed to the bathroom with that flowing cape of courage quickly morphing into tears. I closed and locked the door and removed my clothing to sit in a scalding bath. I scrubbed myself raw and red. I had never felt dirtier before that day. Scrubbing and crying, I could not undo what was done. I tried to purify myself before my mom arrived from work to take me to cheerleading practice. I remember hugging the fence that night during a water break, my body pressed firmly against it, my fingers gripping the rounded diamond connection points separating our practice field from one the boys practiced on. I wondered if an adult had touched any of the other girls or if I might tell someone I trusted there. I turned over the event like a Rubik's Cube and settled in my heart that I would tell my mom whether he killed himself or not. Despairing, my heart trembled, searching for the words as we drove into the night. Mom's Pontiac Sunfire glistened under the moonlight like a chariot of fire. "Ma, can we stop for pink lotion?" I needed an icebreaker to smash my way through the shame. I need to tell you something. We were slowly approaching Walmart's dim lot. Ollie touched me. It seemed Mom's car turned to fire. Then as she began her line of questioning, she went full-on Mama Bear, peeling into the left side of the plaza opposite Walmart where the payphones were. Up until that point, I'd seen my mom as my rock. Today, I know that position is only reserved for God. I didn't know if she trembled from the shock, but she believed me as she frantically dug through her spare change for quarters. "Wait here, I'll be right back." I watched her walk away, wondering what she would tell him. I wanted her to say terrible things. I wanted her to fight him with her words. I wanted him to feel as disgusting and violated as I felt. I sighed deeply as I overheard her shouting match with Ollie. Her hands gripped the black phone like a gun. From what I could hear, she defended and took my side. Sometimes, I wonder if Ollie had admitted it right then so she knew I wasn't lying. I was sure by her tone I would never see him again. Only that wasn't true. I saw Ollie again. Though his access to our apartment had been revoked and his key copy removed from his possession, he still had the key to Mom's heart. A few days later, still confused at what had happened to me, a scared cub licking its tender wounds, I was made to face the predator. Mom was forcing me to receive an apology, but not before cloaking me in the first protective gear I knew, a long-sleeved turtleneck and black jeans. I donned these in 80-degree Florida heat. My mom did what she knew to do, but inside myself, I was the problem. My body made him do it, and it needed to be hidden. Thus, I made him do it, and I needed to be hidden. Bad girl is a pejorative that comes to mind again. "Ma, I don't want to go. I'm scared." I couldn't be in the same room with him. "I'll be right there with you." Her reassurance fell flat. I clung to her arm like a 3-year-old as we entered the hotel room he borrowed for this secret meeting. He was a maintenance man there. Sitting on the far end of the bed opposite him, still attached to my mom, I looked down and away. I felt like a caged animal. Some of me wanted to hear what he had to say to see if he would own up to his wrongdoing, but his words went through me like I was vapor. "I'm sorry. The devil made me do it." The devil? I thought to myself, you did it. So I guess that makes you the devil. I remained mute. Yet he wasn't entirely wrong. The devil had much to do with what he did, but the devil didn't make him do anything. I left the hotel room feeling even more violated and invalidated. He had not taken responsibility for his actions. Instead, he passed the buck on the kingdom of darkness, and the trust I had for men went with it. Or it could be in the drain of our apartment bathtub. Who knew an apology could be so fragmenting? I'm not sure what my opinion was of God either. I was too busy feeling like pieces and not a person. Afterward, life was different. I didn't know it, but I would become the protective mother hen of my family, keeping the secret that I had been molested by my mom's boyfriend. I was bribed with candy and treats to keep quiet. I watched all the TV I wanted and was spoiled rotten for at least 2 weeks. I was incredibly clingy with my mom afterward. The world became unsafe. I couldn't tell Dad what happened because of threats that our family would be torn up. My mom could go to jail and my brother and I could be removed. I'd seen it in movies and I was sworn to secrecy. My brother and father didn't know for at least 5 to 8 years. My brother learned first, then my father. I wonder if I believed my dad would take us, or if I was sure we would be put into the system. I just knew I didn't want anyone to be broken any more than I was. So I shut my mouth and ate my blow pops by the bag, searching for sweet in the bitter. Did this apology mean their relationship was over? Surely it was. The years progressed, and I would catch a quick glimpse of the rear of his forest green SUV driving out of the complex after another secret "I'll be back in a few hours" from my mom. At first, I thought I was tripping. I was 16 and finally catching on to the secret meetings Mom was having with him. I couldn't understand how she could keep seeing him, but I knew she didn't know any better how to be alone than I did. By then, I already had 3 girlfriends or situationships and was probably on my fourth. I remember asking her why she was still seeing him, standing in the middle of the kitchen with tears in my eyes. "I need the money," she said. He was helping foot the bill for this single mom's life. She was having a hard time on her own. I went invisible again that day. I was a regular Houdini. Every chance I got as I entered into a new relationship, I would talk about the abuse and hear my protective new girlfriend exclaim how she'd come to my defense. I would feel seen and quiet her down because I had moved on and it wasn't worth it. But in later years, I would face the trauma head on, writing letters never sent to everyone connected to the situation. It took years of practicing this forgiveness. I had written to him about what he had done and how he had destroyed my childhood. Getting it all out from talking to empty chairs in therapy, having moments when my therapist stood in for the person who hurt me, and even presenting apologies as if from that person. Cognitive behavioral therapy, reframing cognition around traumatic events, and saying all I needed to say healed me a little more each time. I don't pretend to know what went through my mom's mind during those years, but I know she fought with herself for how she handled it. I know she did the best she knew how, and I'm not mad at her anymore. I am thankful, however, that we had a moment of complete forgiveness on both sides, and she confessed her brokenness over what had happened to me as a child and the way she handled it. It ate her up for years, but finally, she was able to offload it. I never knew how much guilt she carried, but I was relieved when she released it because I already had. I had been letting go of what happened for 20 years. By the time I was 33, there was nothing left to forgive, but I was happy to let the words come out so she knew it too. I bless God for that apology, because some never hear the words, and some people who are sexually abused as children are never even believed. If this is you, I believe you, and you're not bad. Your body didn't make them do it. That shame you may still feel isn't yours. You can give it to God. In my healing, some years later, I asked God where he was that day. He showed himself to be a lion over me, roaring with power at the demonic spirit within my mom's boyfriend, when I suddenly dared to tell him to stop. It was God who helped me open my mouth. God scared this grown man so severely that his plans were sabotaged. I wonder if he knew that iconic Bible verse. It is better for him if a millstone is hung around his neck and he is thrown into the sea, than that he may cause one of these little ones to sin. Luke 17:2. This understanding may be complex for some to believe. Questions may arise, like, if God was there to help you tell him to stop, why didn't he keep it from happening in the first place? Valid question. It was not his will, but it would be used. As I've grown closer to Jesus Christ, I've learned he's not a God who wastes. He's more of an upcycle God. Give me your ashes and I'll give you beauty. Give me your tears and I'll give you joy kind of God. Give me your heaviness or darkness, your weariness, your sadness, your depression, and I will give you the ability to praise kind of God. Isaiah 61 and 3. I can undoubtedly say God has fulfilled every one of those promises for me. God didn't stop the event from happening because he always had a plan. And as I'm writing and you're reading, we both fit snugly into his perfect plan, not to harm us, but to give us hope and a future. Jeremiah 29 and 11. It was always true. Devastation and destiny are meeting places for a divine God to demonstrate his dynamic power. The domino effect of his dominion, grace, and perfect will over our lives pours forth when we let him move. For instance, I would have never written this book, composed my first poem when I was 13, or watched the tears streaming down a woman's face after I performed a spoken word poem at an open mic about the abuse. This young woman was able to say, I don't feel alone. And that happened to me too. We saw one another, hugged, and were comforted. I would have never learned the power of forgiveness. I felt great mercy the day God showed me how to forgive Ali for what he had done to me. He showed me how to consider what he had gone through when he was a child, which could lead him to hurt me, that it is likely someone had hurt him too. I felt compassion for him. I prayed many times for his salvation, hoping he has given his life to Jesus Christ and found redemption for his sake and any other child who could be hurt if he didn't. I chose to believe early on that the pain I experienced would have a purpose. When folks older and wiser than me would encourage me to trust God could and would use it, I believed. Today, we know it was true. It was always true. And so, I grew up towing same-sex attraction, SSA, quietly behind me. If the SSA thought to pop up, I would push it down until I could no longer. I was 13 when I kissed a girl, and 14 when I came out to my mother, protesting that I would be this way for my entire life. With unconditional love, my mom assured me it was only a phase that echoed throughout the next 20 plus years of my life. Perhaps the detonator was the molestation, or it was everything that left my little soul riddled with chasms that desperately needed filling. Women, among other things, were my central filling station. But before this story got better, it got a whole lot worse. For a long while, God did not have my ear, though he always managed to get in a word or a miracle.